What's up guys, welcome back to Deck Tech for Decks. I'm your host Caleb. If you want to support me, you can always use the TCGPlayer link in the description down below, or liking, commenting, subscribing, boosting that algorithm will always do the trick. Now, let's get into this weekly budget build with Arcades the Strategist. And honestly, the strategy's simple, right? We just shove the deck full of a lot of defenders that give us a lot of value whenever they enter the battlefield, or maybe they tap for mana. Additionally, all we have to do is protect our commander and we will have an endless amount of card advantage. Lastly, all we need to do is buff our entire board of defenders and swing out for the win. So if that sounds like a deck tech you're into, let's get into it. Let's go ahead and kick it off with those defenders that have some really useful abilities. We have Wall of Roots, Vine Trellis, and Uvenwald Captive. These will all just add mana to our mana pool. Super awesome. They're going to draw us a card and ramp us. Sporocyst, Overgrown Battlement, and Soroli Caretaker are just adding to the ramp our defenders can provide. Axebane Guardian, another one that can add a ton of mana to our mana pool, especially when our board gets massive, full of these defenders. Notably, I did go with a small mana curve with this deck, that way we can basically storm off, casting a ton of defenders, so we will have a lot on the battlefield. Wall of Blossoms, Wall of Omens, and this Bird Monk are just going to draw us a card whenever we cast them. Resolute Watchdog is going to be amazing. Not only does it have defender, cost 1 mana, it will also protect our commander. Now, let's move on to these 1-drops. We have Wall of Ruins, Cathedral Membrane, Clockwork Drawbridge, Dragon's Eye Sentry, Errant Street Artist, Larder Zombie, Steel Wall, Excavated Wall, Secret Door, and finally Traproot Kami. Not only are these essentially cantrips in the deck, they will also provide us with the going wide strategy, and then all we need to do is buff them and end the game. Crashing Drawbridge. This card can be especially useful in this deck since we are casting a lot of walls, sometimes all in one turn. Then all we need to do is give them haste, buff them to the moon, end the game. Wall of Junk. I like this because it can return to our hand. That way we can again cast it and just get more card advantage. Wall of Mist. A 0/5, you gotta love it. Thing in the Ice, this one, once its time counters are up, we're gonna go ahead and get a 7/8, which we will take. Riptide Turtle, another 0/5. Again, we're just adding 0/5s to the deck. Wall of Tangle Cord, this one, a 0/6. We're just getting bigger. Wall of Deceit, this one's a 0/5, and Weathered Sentinels. This one is a 3-drop, but it is also going to be a 0/8 whenever it attacks. It'll have Defender, Vigilance, Reach, and Trample. Not to mention, it does gain Indestructible, which cannot be overlooked. Guard Gamazoa. We can essentially just Spore Frog one creature over and over again, blocking our opponent's biggest creature, and that's going to be super annoying. Hover Barrier. This is just a 0/6 with flying. You gotta love it. Wall of Denial. Again, a flying 0/8, which will be essentially an 8/8. Wall of Frost, we've got that 7 power, or toughness I guess, and then Wall of Ice, again we've got that 7 toughness, so we're just smacking our opponents for 7. Tree of Redemption. I like this one, not really for the life total exchange, but hey, hitting someone for 13 sounds pretty fun. Moving on to the core of the deck, we have Tetsuko Umezawa. This is going to make all of our creatures unblockable because remember, they're just 0/13s coming at you, and then you get smacked for 13 damage. You gotta love it. Baldin, Sentry Herdmaster. This is going to buff all of our creatures' toughness equal to our hand size, and our hand size will be pretty good because of all of these defenders we are casting. Kamal, Heart of Krosa, just a really easy trample in the deck. Also, it's going to give +3/+3 and the ability to animate our lands, so why not? Brago, King Eternal. All we need to do is attack our opponent, blink all our walls, they'll enter the battlefield, and we will draw a ton of cards. That sounds like fun to me. Unbreakable Formation. We do need to protect our board state, and this can do it. Return to the ranks. If we lose our board state, we can just bring all of our defender cards back to the battlefield for honestly just 5 mana. Swiftfoot Boots is needed in this deck because honestly, without our commander, this deck gets bricked pretty fast. Moving on to our non-defender card draw and ramp, we have Inga Inasika. This is going to be solid to give all of our walls vigilance, and then we can tap our walls to add mana. Additionally, we can draw cards if we hit that 3 mana threshold to cast a creature spell. Mentor of the Meek, all of our creatures are pretty small, so 1 mana draw a card after it enters the battlefield is going to be pretty solid, especially with the low cost of all of these defenders. Beast Whisperer, this is basically just going to double up on our commander's ability, drawing us a lot of cards whenever we're casting those creature spells. Lifecrafter's Bestiary, kind of the same, right? All we have to do is pay 1 mana and we're drawing cards whenever we're casting those defenders. Glorious Sunrise. This is in the deck for honestly all 3 silly reasons. If we need to end the game, we need trample. If we're low on mana, we can add mana to our mana pool. And if we control a creature with power 3 or greater, we can draw a card. Now, that might sound like a non-bow in the deck until you realize our commander does have 3 power, so we're good there. Sunscape Familiar can put some insane work in this deck because honestly we're going to lower the cost of all of those green and blue spells. This will allow us to play even more defenders each turn, along with Nylea Keen-Eyed. Now this is going to lower the cost of all of our creatures, again allowing us to play more defenders. Lastly, we have Arcane Signet and that Soul Ring. Moving on to removal, we have our Counterspell package with Siren Storm Tamer, an Offer You Can't Refuse, and Counterspell. Generous Gift and a Beast Within are going to be solid removal to get rid of any permanent. Nature's Claim is just super efficient removal, and then we have our board wipes. Slaughter the Strong and Fell the Mighty can essentially be one-sided board wipes where we can protect all of our low power creatures and our opponents are going to lose everything. Lastly, we have Fade from History. This is essentially a budget Bane of Progress, and it will get rid of all the Smothering Tice, all the Rhystic Studies, and all of the affinity problems we have in Commander. With that being said, that brings us to the end of the deck tech. I hope you guys enjoyed. As always, I hope this helped you in your deck building endeavors, and I will see you in the next one.